Hey, this is part 2 of my transmission repair of a Turbo 400. This is a teardown segment. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Pine Meadows Hobby Farm. I'm your host, Jerry Hansen. Previous video, we introduced basically talking myself into actually tearing into this Turbo 400 transmission and doing it again. Yes, this is the second time I've repaired this transmission. So this is a teardown segment of this video series. This is the Backyard Mechanic series right here at Pine Meadows Hobby Farm. Yes, as farmers, homeowners, whatever, I have to save a buck. I do. So I was quoted, I took the transmission out, pressure washed it, took it down to a local transmission repair shop that has a really good reputation. They quoted me $4,800 to rebuild the transmission. They don't repair it, they rebuild it. I went online and I looked at rebuild kits, rebuild parts, and seen what all needs to be rebuilt, inspected stuff. Since I tore into this thing and I rebuilt it about 10 years ago, rebuilt it about 10 years ago, this transmission hardly has any mileage on it at all, because this came out of my 1990 Chevy, a 1-ton dually pickup that I use primarily for towing fifth wheels and also hauling rock up to the Homestead. So I had my friend pull this out. I just didn't have the energy to pull this out this time, so I had my friend pull this out. I paid him to do it, and in this episode I'm going to tear it down and kind of look at the parts. I did get a kit for it. I'm going to repair it. This is a repair video. I'm going to suggest going to Southpaw Automotive. I'll leave a link to their videos down there on how to tear down, inspect, and rebuild every component within this transmission. I lost the reverse on my transmission because I was trying to... My daughter bought a fifth wheel, and it was a huge coach, and she had a person deliver it. They parked it right in my driveway, but I had to back it into place. So ultimately, I blew the reverse out of my pickup because I was backing it up an incline. Too big of a coach that my truck could handle, so that's why I blew reverse. Still have forward, because I did a complete rebuild on this before, so I'm only going to do a repair. I ultimately had to call a tow truck, hire them to back that thing into place. So let's get this thing torn down and show you guys the process. Now, one of the first things you'd want to remove is the linkage arm. My buddy took the linkage arm off. It's down with my pickup at his place. And also note that I took the converter out, and I also took the rear yoke off. So those are out. So we're dealing with just the transmission. I have it setting inside of a Rubbermaid garbage can lid, inverted, because it's going to catch all the fluid. I don't want the fluid seeping down into the environment. I want to be able to catch the fluid and then take it to a proper recycling place. So the next step, since the linkage is gone, the next thing to take off is the speedometer hold down clamp. Now, if you have a threaded speedometer cable, this is an electronic one, you want to wait till you get in the inside and you can pop it out with a screwdriver. But this way, I've got a surface on which to grab a hold of and pull out with some pliers. And there that is. I'm going to take the tail housing off here, but before I do that, I'm going to knock out the seal. And you could do that with a hammer and a flat chisel. Here's my flat chisel right here. Now this might have fluid coming out of it, so I want to be able to catch that fluid. Okay, we'll take the tail housing off. This is a 9/16. Tail housing has a bushing in here. If it's worn, you'd want to replace it. Again, those guys I'm going to leave a link to, they're going to show you how they remove them and press them in. Next is the governor cover, which is this. These are 1/2-inch bolts. Take the cover off. You're going to replace this gasket right here. Remove your governor. And you're going to want to see if this is worn, the drive gear, they sell replacements. You knock that little pin out right there and you can replace that. And also, squeezing this together, you can see if that little valve inside is moving like it's supposed to. And it's moving freely. Next is the modulator hold down. Again, it's 1/2 inch. It's got an O-ring right here you're going to replace. And then the modulator valve itself, you grab that with a needle nose pliers or a magnet, and then that's the modulator valve. Okay, I'm ready to flip it. Okay, I'm ready to remove the pan. That came off easily. Remove the filter. We got a new filter for this. And then there's a spacer. Don't forget the spacer. That's the pickup tube. Remove the pickup tube. It's just press fitted in there. And it's got an O-ring you're going to want to replace. Remove the gasket. We have a new gasket in the kit we purchased. And then we got a lot of bolts on the valve body. There's 2 different size bolts. There's 1/2 inch. And then there's 3/32. Nope, not those. Which ones? Okay, 1/2 inch and 7/16. Make sure you're getting your washers off with those. The indent spring. Now remember, the spring goes back here on this spot when you're reassembling. Okay, I don't have an adapter, unfortunately. So I have to use my hand wrench. Now you got the governor tubes that stick down here, so you have to just pry those out with a screwdriver. It doesn't take much effort. And be careful when pulling this out, because some of these things are spring-loaded. And then you got this valve here. And we'll go over that in a minute. Now there's little ball bearings down in there. I'm going to flip this upside down. Next is going to be the detent solenoid here. 2 bolts. If you're wondering, it's 5/8. We got to remove the electrical connection. Don't forget that. And that should release our separator plate. There's a gasket here and a separator plate, the gasket here, and these are going to be replaced. Keep your separator plate. Some rebuild kits come with a shift kit comes with a new separator plate. We're going to keep that. Now I point out there's 6 ball bearings in here, so make note of where those ball bearings go, because you're going to want to replace those, and my kit comes with new ball bearings. There's one here, there's one there, there's one there, There's another one there. And there's another one there. There's another one down there. Six altogether. Front servo lifts out. It's got a spring and a retainer. And it's got a seal right there. 6 bolts on the reverse low servo cover. Keep pressure there because there's a spring. Still a little bit of spring tension here. Lift that right out, the servo. Spring. And right in here is a bolt. Now that bolt has to come out of that valve body area because it goes down through the case. And that's what holds your center bearing in place. And you can't get your clutch packs out unless you get that out. So you can't skip that step. Now this next step I'm going to show you, it takes a special tool. Yeah, really tough to find. Luckily I have one because I inherited this big toolbox, a master mechanic's toolbox full of tools. And it just so happened I have the right tools. I not only have a bushing removal and press kit that I can replace the bushings on here if I have to. I also found the special socket for this bolt right here that holds the center support in place. You got to remove that to take the guts out of the transmission. Now this is a 3/8 inch socket, but it's been ground down to fit in this little narrow accommodating hole there. Yeah, otherwise standard sockets just ain't gonna fit. And that socket is also, it's a 3/8 inch. It's been ground down. Also, it's a 12-point socket. You need a 12-point socket to fit that little bolt in there. Yeah, so we're gonna take that out. And I also wanted to point something out. Just looking at this labyrinth here, on the valve body part of the transmission. Going to college and learning microbiology and splicing genes while I was pursuing a nursing degree. Looking at this, it reminds me of the mitochondria in a human cell. Doesn't it you? Okay, we got our socket in there, and now we're just going to remove it. See, that's that little treasure you're pulling out of there. That's why you need a 12-point socket. I also called for a quote on a repair or rebuild of a Turbo 400 transmission from a national brand company, and they quoted me less than the local company. They quoted me $3,600 to fix my transmission. Yeah, so I've done it before, I'll do it again. And I'll take you guys through the steps with me. Now that we got that special bolt out of there, you have a front seal, like the back seal. We're gonna remove the front seal before I take the pump out with a flat chisel. We're just gonna remove it the same way. Okay, then we got the pump bolts. These are 9/16, and this is the pump, which is spun by the engine that pumps the fluid out through your chambers of your transmission to make it work. There's 6 of those. This particular model transmission has 6 bolts. Depending on the year the transmission was manufactured, older models may have more bolts, but in this case, this Turbo 400 has 6. Now, getting these pumps out, there's several ways you can do that. One is the actual pump puller. There's 2 threaded holes in here that you put in and pull the pump that way. There's other methods that they use to pull them out. I'm going to use a method that we just tuck the screwdriver in right in this hole right here and use it as leverage and push it out. Isn't that clever? It's this hole right here, and you stick the screwdriver and use the case as leverage and push it right on out. Okay, we pull our pump out. And it's got a seal here, a gasket. We're going to replace that gasket. We're going to replace the seals that are on here. There's a bushing right here, or a washer. And the pump is rebuildable also. There's a seal here. But I just recently did my pump. I don't need to do it again. What I'm after is in the internal parts. Let's go to the next step. Now I want to stop right here for a moment and explain to you I'm doing a repair. Like I said, 10 years ago I tore into this transmission and rebuilt it. Yes, and it ran for 10 years. But you got to understand the mileage I put on that truck wasn't that much over 10 years. I may have put 300 miles on this transmission. Yeah, pathetic. I just don't drive that truck that much. It's a beast. So this is a repair for me. I will inspect other things as I go along. And if I need to replace like a bushing, a bearing, a racer or something, or another component, if I see that it's damaged or it doesn't measure up to specs with the feeler gauges, then I'm going to replace it and go further in a repair today than I did 10 years ago. But this thing has been rebuilt. I did much more extensive repair on this 10 years ago. But right now I'm just doing a repair on a transmission that has 300 to 400 miles on it since I repaired it. My bad. It was my fault. I forced the transmission just screaming down in reverse trying to get that big beast of a coach up the hill. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. It's a headache. It's expensive. But I'm saving boatloads of cash doing this myself. Back to business. Okay, the input shaft forward drum comes right out. This is the direct clutch hub right here. We're going to tear this open and rebuild it in another video. Next is the direct drum. This could be a little difficult to come out, but for me, it's easy. Pulls right out. We're going to disassemble this also, and we're going to replace all these plates that are in here. Yep, the whole thing. So the direct clutch drum and a one-way clutch on the back here. One way. And this is the band surface here. You can see where the band was set and worn. We're going to inspect that a little bit. It looks fine to me right now, but we're going to remove the band so you can see what the band looks like. Next is the sun gear shaft. Comes out with that. Next is the band. We grab the opposite side where it's anchored and pull. This is one item you might want to inspect to make sure you don't need to replace it. Now, I replaced this about 300 miles ago, and it's still in perfect condition. Next is the intermediate clutches. There's a snap ring here on the outside diameter. We need to take a screwdriver and take that out. It helps to have a pick too. I don't have a pick, but I have a flathead screwdriver and needle nose pliers. You work that out. And this is square. It's flat on both sides. Now this is the intermediate clutch pack. Yeah, you gotta pull those out. That's them. These we're gonna replace. Those, yep. Yeah, all these we're gonna replace. Now there's another ring in there, snap ring. Same thing as before. I'm going to use a bigger screwdriver. No, not that one. Let's try this one. This is a little bit more robust than the other one. It's tougher. Yeah, I wish I had a hook for that. Okay, let's see if this tool works. No, yes. Okay. So, this is the middle one. This is the front one, and notice the front one is a little bit smaller than the back one. So keep these separate. Okay, now we remove the center support. This is what that special bolt was holding in. And we're going to grab the bulk of it, and the rest of the transmission should come out with it. And we got the rear planetary right there. Oh, this is well worn. We're going to replace that. And remove the rest of it. Got a 4-tang washer on the back. We're going to replace that. And then I have the rear band in here. It just comes out. And this we're going to have to replace. So I have to order a new band. And there's an electrical connector on the side that goes through and I want to replace the seal on that because that is a point on where you can have leakage. To get that off of there, I just take a 11/16 box end wrench, just like that, place it right over the top of those little tangs, those teeth, press that down, and it pops, theoretically, pops right out. Let me get... There you go. So it's this we're going to be replacing. Well, that concludes tearing down or disassembling a Turbo 400 transmission. I'm going to make this 4 video sets because the next video is going to be replacing all the clutches. Yeah, all the plates and stuff and the clutches, and I'm waiting for a tool to come in. It's a press, and I'll show you that when I get here, and then I'll leave links down below in the next video to show you where and how much you can purchase it for. I purchased it 2 days ago. It's coming in from Amazon, and I need it. I would like to, because I'm also thinking about rebuilding another transmission for a Ford Explorer. Yeah, my son, he got a free car, but the transmission just went out on it. So he's going to pull the transmission by the repair kit or rebuild kit. We're going to totally rebuild that one. And then I'll just take you through the actions. So on this video, it's not a how-to. It's just showing you how I am able to learn from the University of YouTube and do it myself and save a boatload of cash. Yeah, I mentioned those 2 places earlier that gave me quotes. So far it's just cost me time and about $118 in the parts that I purchased, the part kit for the repair, and then there's fluid. So about $40 in fluid. So about 150, 160 bucks. And then I'm paying my friend who pulled the transmission, is putting it back in. Yeah, I pay him. So I'll let you guys know my total cost once everything is done. Well, that's it on this video, part 2 of disassembling a Turbo 400 transmission that goes into a 1990 Chevy one-ton dually. Yeah. Stay tuned to more videos, especially the next video on this series, where we're going to do actually the replacement of the parts. The final video will be the reassembly of it. So it's going to be a 4-part series. Stay tuned for that. You can do that by subscribing, clicking that bell icon that alerts you to new videos as I upload them. Give us a thumbs up, click that share button, sharing my videos on your social media platforms. And pay attention to the Backyard Mechanic series right here at Pine Meadows Hobby Farm. Yeah, I'm not in the backyard quite. I'm in my carport. We'll see you guys in my next adventure. Bye-bye now.